Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining this webinar today. So, just to give you a quick introduction, we have Mr. Lavlesh Parashar from Orbit Techsol. He's the group CTO. And we have Mr. Suman Babu, Senior Sales Specialist, Zerto HPE. So, to make it more engaging, we'll have a short quiz at the end of this session. You can type your answers in the chat window, and we have some exciting giveaways for the first correct answer. So, let's call it fastest finger first. Over to you, Lavlesh. Thank you.
Hey, thanks. Yeah. Am I audible and visible both?
Yes.
Okay. So I have two presentations. One is Orbit introduction, which I will make it very, very quick. And second presentation is about the agenda, which is ransomware. So we have a mix of audience which are from various domains functions. So we'll try to take you through a very, very basics of what ransomware is. Probably for few people it may be that you are already aware of it, but please bear with me because probably few non-technical audience, though they have been hearing ransomware, but they will get a little bit of knack that what ransomware is, then how it is impacting enterprise business. And then obviously Mr. Suman Babu will talk about how HP Zerto can help you coming out of this problem. So to start with, let me first share my screen. So hi everyone, my name is Lavlesh Parashar. I am Group Chief Technology Officer for Orbit Techsol in India. And my job function is to make sure that within organization and our customers place, you are ready and geared up with the new challenges which IT and security is posing, and your businesses can be ready to handle these challenges. To start with a quick intro about Orbit, and I'll not take much of the time. I'll try to finish it in 2-3 minutes because a lot of you are already aware about company, but those who are listening us first time will get a little bit brief about our organization. So we are an organization which was established around 33 years before, and we have close to 12 plus locations in the country and 700 plus professionals. Orbit is a system integrations organization, and we primarily work in the area of infrastructure and infrastructure related softwares. Our solution and expertise is around infrastructure solutions, as I talked about, and any grade of enterprise network. You want it for your factories, you want it for your premises, school, colleges, offices, we are there. Cybersecurity solutions for each and every level. So whether it is perimeter security, whether it is endpoint security, whether you want to build a NOC, SOC, we have expertise in providing you all this assistance to create either your own setup or you can rely on our setup. Then we have expertise on most of the cloud offerings. It is just not about giving you the cloud seat. It is also about giving you the right professional services, which can help you to travel from on-prem to cloud. And if you want to repatriate, we have those services as well. We have a separate wing, which is primarily focusing on digital transformation solutions. This is the new business which we started around 5 years before. And in under this services, we provide you all the business transformation services, which includes creating data lakes of the world, giving you AI ML services, helping you build your own models, connecting it to large models, then providing assistance in putting Gen AI solutions in your place. So all these services are available with us, and since the agenda is different, so I'll not take much of the time there. And those who are interested in knowing more on this can please get back to us, and we will be very happy talking about it. So, Sushil Kumar Jain, he is Group CEO of the organization by profession. He's a chartered accountant and he's leader of our group. I have already talked about myself and Mr. Narendra Goyal. He is Group CFO of the organization. He is also chartered accountant. So this is a brief journey about Orbit. We started 1993 and we started from 7 employees, and you can see we are now 700 plus employees. These are few awards and recognitions. Will not talk about much. We are very, very happy and honored to tell that we are great place to work certified, and not since this year, from last many years. So this also talks about our organization's culture, how we deal with our people, and same will then translate into the quality of services which we give to you. Sorry about this. Looks like there is some. Okay. The India map is not visible because of some technical glitch, and it always happens. So please bear with me. And these are the locations I was talking about. So if you are present anywhere in country, you can find Orbit offices and you can take our services. These are our associate partners, and we have been working with them as their top tier vendor. Like, for example, HP, we have been platinum partners to them. Aruba, we have been platinum partners to them, so on and so forth. So we are having highest level tier relationship with all these OEMs. And how does it make sense to you is because top tier membership or relationship means that we have right amount of expertise and skill sets available in the company. And also we are capable of delivering any size and any complexity of the project if these OEMs are involved. So this is actually making sense when it comes to giving you right services and right sizing. These are our few top customers. Probably you can find your logo as well. And we are very, very thankful to you guys for entrusting us. And please, keep on entrusting us like this, and we will try and give our best possible services. So this was about Orbit. Let me just straight away jump into the agenda now. Sorry, just bear with me. So as I was talking about that, we have a few people who are not from technical background. So just to bring them also on the same page, what I will do is I will invest a couple of minutes in telling you what exactly ransomware is. And as I told you, it can be basics for few of you. Please bear with me. And then we will talk about what businesses are doing right now to be ransomware safe. And if you have any questions during my presentation or Mr. Suman's presentation, you can write your question on the chat box. And at the end of the session, we will be very happy taking up those questions. So, ransomware is nothing but a malicious software which most of the time encrypts your data. And if you want to access the data, that data is will not be accessible to you. And 100% of the time, because and that is why the ransomware name has been coined. 100% out of the 100% times, these attackers will ask you money in terms of ransom, and most of the time it is in cryptocurrency. And why it matters to you? Because it is threat to business of all sizes, whether you are a SMB organization or you are a very, very large enterprise organization. And believe me, whatever amount of security and everything you have put in place, still you are prone and vulnerable, and you need a real attention around it. And obviously, it brings significant financial and operational consequences. So, what are types of ransomware? Basically, they are categorized into three types. First is crypto ransomware. What they do is basically they encrypt all your critical files and data files, and then they demand ransomware from you. And then there is a second way, which is also quite prevalent now, that they lock your systems. So basically, you are not able to get into the operating system. And there also everything, all the access is lost, and then in that case, again they will ask for money to come out of the situation. And third, which is very, very dangerous, and most of the companies will never like to have that situation where they steal your data before encrypting it, and then threaten you that they will put that data in public domain. So these are the type of ransomware attacks which happen. Uh, these are few cases which are in public domain. So I have mentioned it here. Otherwise, usually 99% cases they don't come into public domain because of reputation and everything else. But just see the amount of money which has been lost. A Colonial Pipe they paid around $4.4 million. JBS Foods 11 million, and Marx was whopping 300 million. So you see the amount of pain and loss companies are having because of ransomware. So how does it impacts enterprise business or businesses for you? So as soon as a ransomware attack happens, these are the things which actually happens first. You lose access to your systems. There is a unplanned downtime which comes. Then your operations get suffered. So whatever business you are into, if you are into manufacturing, your manufacturing line may stop. If you are into a financial business, probably your loan processing and other things may stop. If you are into any other business, say share broking, your access to your client's data is lost, so you cannot see how much credit they are having and whether they are capable of or they are eligible to do transactions or not. So I can keep on giving examples, but as soon as data breach happens, operational disruption is there. That actually results into financial loss. So what happens is that this what happens is when we are under a ransomware attack, there will be a business disruption, and that business disruption, just a second, I am into a meeting. So, yeah, I'm sorry, guys. There were people who are not aware I'm just presenting. I'm so sorry. So, uh, just a second, let me just put it this down. So, financial losses will happen because your business is going to get disrupted. And if the operation is disrupted, eventually customers or external world will also come to know that there is something which has happened in the company. And because of that, there can be a reputational damage, there can be a loss of customer trust. So ransomware is very, very big problem and should be dealt with care. And how does it happens basically? We talk about so much of you can say protections already in place in terms of so much of tools have been deployed, so much of you can say security tools have been deployed, and so much of measures have been taken. Still, attacks happen. It is basically due to lack of awareness. So what happens is most of the time, I will say 70-80% of the time, attack happens because a end user in the organization has received something which he or she is not supposed to receive through email or whatever medium, and then they uh, unknowingly or in innocence, out of innocence, they access that file, and then the attack happens. So if you see on my screen, it says phishing attacks, lack of adequate security measures. When we say lack of adequate security measures, it is about that lack of monitoring. You may have firewalls, you may have antivirus softwares, you may have a SIM in place, everything is there. But if continuous monitoring is not happen, that can also land up into this situation. A lot of human errors are also help do that. And unpatched software vulnerabilities are also one of the biggest problems we have seen in the industry, that a lot of softwares VAPT has been done probably 6 months or a 1 year before, if not 6 months, 1 year before, and latest VAPTs have not been done, and then there are you can say issues in the software itself, and that allows these attackers to get into your network. Also, how do you, so when we say these problems are there, obviously proactive measures, basically being ahead of the time, can help you save or salvage this situation. Biggest thing is regular backup. And when we say regular backup, we are just not talking about backup which is done and the software says that backup is done, but you should have a system which not only takes the backup, but it checks the backup. It gives you assurance that yes, whatever has been backed is proper, and whenever you will need it, it will be given back to you or given back to the business. So, right regular backup is required. Then employee training and awareness. This is the most important thing because I told you 70-80% attacks are because of this. So there should be a continuous training program for your employees so that they are aware what they have to do, what not to do. Implement a rock solid, strong security practice and policy both, so that attackers find a very hard time cracking the code, which includes your multi-factor authentication, endpoint detection, and very secured password policies. And last but not the least, keeping the systems updated, which is basically having always and always the latest patches uploaded so that vulnerabilities are minimized. So, if attack happens, what you should do, you should have these three things in place. Incident response plan, which basically, if attack happens, what you should do next. So I'll give you an example. If attack happens most of the time, let me give a generic example. That if you are, say, example, you are having insurance document and everything, you have taken a medical insurance. God forbid something happens, then you start searching your medical card where it is kept. Then you see which hospitals are empaneled, and then it's basically you are not prepared for that incident. So you have to prepare, or business has to be prepared for the incident. So you should have a documented incident response plan for ransomware attacks, so that whenever, God forbid, but if a ransomware attack happens, you should be aware what is the first thing to do, what is the second thing to do, so on and so forth. Backup and recovery protocols so ensure the ability of restoring critical business operations. What we are trying to say here is that you have backup, but most of the time it is not tested. And if it is tested also, you are not aware that what happens if the networks are not available or systems have got locked. Because what these attackers do is they most of the time lock your systems as well. So the place from where you have to recover this is also locked. So you should have proper, you can say, protocols set for this, so that whenever attack happens, you have an absolute plan B and C available, and just not the plan A. And then obviously, a lot of companies who are publicly listed, they have to do the disclosures also. So you need to have proper records created so that legal and compliance considerations are there. And as and when demanded by various agencies, you can provide that data and be compliant with the law of land. So I'll just skip this. Uh, so Best practices of ransomware readiness is, we say, conduct regular security checks, implement good network segmentation. Very important. Good network segmentation, because I told you that most of the same time systems get locked. So if you have multiple layers of network available, then at the same time, probably not all your networks are locked, and you will have enough space to have that disaster recovery activated. And keep on testing your disaster recovery plans, because what happens is you have a disaster recovery plan, but if it is not tested, and if you haven't seen it working from last 6 months or 1 year, it may so happen that whenever this attack happens, you may not actually get the data back. So it is of very important importance. Sorry. And this is something I've just put it. It actually it may uh, give you up. You can say loss of sleep. But yeah, this is fact that ransomware as a service has also started. We have heard a lot in the market, which means that lot of people who are not technical, and those who are basically not having that technical acumen, but then also they can hire people to do this job. So it's very dangerous. Lot of targeted attacks are there, especially they do it on critical infrastructure. And because of increased government regulations, the ransoms and mandate cybersecurity standards for business are, we can say, compulsory. So this is what you can expect as a future of ransomware. Key takeaways is ransomware is going to be an ever-growing problem. It will never end. You will see various versions of attacks coming in. I talked about three. In future, it may be more, but it will be there. It is going to be there. Prevention, employee awareness, and strong recovery plans are essential. Implement a robust cybersecurity framework to safeguard your business. So these are the few important things. If you take in your business, you will be ransomware safe. Now let me talk about, just in a quick one deck, why Zerto, because this entire session is around Zerto. So uh, though Mr. Suman is there and he will talk exactly about what Zerto does is, but I thought of just starting the pitch and then probably from here he can take it. So with Zerto you have a multi-layer defense approach, which means that it can, not only the level of security it is providing on its own, it actually talks to your existing security tools, which are like firewalls, antivirus, or IDS, IPS systems, takes feedback from it, and accordingly, it will, you can say, try to give you proactive alerts even before the attack is happening. Then, incident response. I told you that. Uh, if the incident has happened, God forbid, but if the ransomware attack has happened, you need a proper incident response system in place. And so incident response integration happens using Zerto. And then third, I told you about government compliances. So compliance and reporting is a very, very important, a mandatory requirement for all the enterprises, businesses. So HP Zerto helps you maintaining these compliances as well. So by this, now I am end with my session, and I will be very happy to take questions at the end of the session. And now I will like it hand over back to Neha.
Thank you so much, Lavlesh. So I hand it over to Suman now. Mr. Suman Mabu is there and he will take it over and tell you more about Zerto. Over to you, Suman. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Neha, and thank you so much, Lavlesh, for that wonderful insights about this ransomware resilience and cyber recovery part. So, very good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I appreciate customers taking the time and coming on Friday evening. I really appreciate your time, everyone. So, I'll keep the presentation pretty short and sweet and connect the dots with where Lavlesh is left. So, let me quickly share my deck. Neha, can you just prompt me if you're able to see my deck?
Yes.
Excellent. So the theme of the objective of the session is today is, I mean, I'm sure you saw in the registration link as well as the invites, modernizing your data protection and cyber resilience. I think Lovelace has given very, very important points of discussion around the cyber resiliency and the ransomware attack part. So technology plays a real vital role in this era, right? I mean, obviously, cyber resiliency and data protection has become a very important topic, not just for India, but across the globe. But there are a lot of tools and technologies in the market. I think one such tool is Zerto, which I'm going to talk right now. But it's important that we have certain tools in the technology perspective to kind of protect the data and also from the cyber resiliency part. So just quickly, some facts I just want to put in front of you as a customer. By 2031, the fastest growing type of cybercrime is expected to attack a business, consumer, or even every device every 2 seconds. And that is a timeline of attack happens. And if you see the total addressable market is here is $265 billion, which is huge. And this is a red alarming situation for every customer in the world today. And ransomware has become a board level challenges. Today, ransomware is not CISO's problem anymore because this has become an important topic, not just for the CISOs, but everybody in the organization, including all the C-level executives like CIOs or CFOs. And it has become a headache for everyone because ransomware has become a very important threat globally. When it comes to disruptions, right, there are a couple of disruptions. This is from the experience. I want to just draw the line and just try to put some experience and thoughts here that disruptions could be a couple of ways. One is an unplanned disruption. The unplanned disruptions or the reactive disruptions happens what various reasons. One could be disasters. When I say disasters, these are natural disasters could happen and could be because of the hardware failure, could be a natural disaster, could be power outage, could be data corruption, or it could be disruptions due to cyber attacks or the ransomware threats that Lovelace talked about. So there are other kinds of disruptions. These are nothing but the proactive disruptions where if a customer is trying to do a migration project, if a customer is moving to cloud, let's say somebody is planning to move from on-prem to cloud perspective, or somebody wants to modernize their infrastructure in terms of mergers and acquisitions, they want to consolidate their data centers, for example, or they want to upgrade and refresh. I think these disruptions do exist in the market. I think the unplanned disruptions and the planned disruptions are very reactive and proactive measures. I think we need to have a robust technology which will cater to all these disruptions. And I believe that, software that I'm going to talk about is Zerto, a part of the HP. So Zerto is a company founded in the year 2009 from Israel, and in 2021 we've been acquired by HP in part of the larger HP ecosystem. And we are very proud to say that we have got a huge number of customer base, very huge number of partner base, and we have great partnership with partners like Orbit that we're talking right now. And what Zerto is all about? Zerto is a pure software platform. It's a hardware agnostic platform. And if you see in this slide, importantly, we laser focus into 3 use cases. So let me start a highlighter, a pointer. So we laser focus into the first use case, which is disaster recovery. I'm sure a lot of the customers in the call today, you appreciate that disaster recovery is a very important strategy for your DR strategy, because a lot of customers today who has a data center, they are setting up a DR for the safe repository of data from replicating from a DC to DR. And obviously the data loss and downtime plays a very critical, proposition here. And talking about RTOs and RPOs, the RTOs and RPOs has to be very effective for a disaster strategy or a DR strategy. And with Zerto, you will see or you will appreciate in the next few slides that we get an RPO of few seconds and RTO of few minutes, which is superior and important for every customer to have. Now, this platform is also capable of doing ransomware resilience. When I say ransomware resilience, we have 2 aspects for that. One of the aspect is when a ransomware or a malware or any kind of phishing attack happens in the customer premises, there should be a trigger of a mail or a trigger of an alarm that has to be there. So Zerto does that. And in terms of recovery, I can be very proud to say that if any disaster happens, within few seconds of time, we are able to recover the entire data. That is a huge value proposition for the customer. Now, the second aspect of the ransomware resilience is the data protection itself. How do you have a data protection strategy in terms of your cyber recovery? Now, last but not the least is the multi-cloud mobility part. When I say multi-cloud mobility, obviously, customers want to migrate data from an on-prem to cloud, or they want to bring the data back from cloud to on-prem, or any customers, they want to have a strategy to have a disaster recovery between your hyperscalers. For example, a customer wants to do a DR from a AWS, hyperscaler from India to, let's say, the Azure site into, let's say, in Singapore. So we can do the data migration, we can do the, a DR strategy between the clouds. Now, beautifully, the platform that you see from Zerto perspective, we are a platform, hardware agnostic platform. What this means is our underlying infrastructure, we can have any deployment at any hardware. It could be, on premise, it could be cloud or a private cloud. And all these different use cases are based on a solid technology, what we called as the foundation of CDP, which stands for continuous data protection, because that is where Zerto is primarily built on. And that is where customers do believe that this superior product can address all these 3 use cases and the challenges that I've spoken in the last slide. Now, from a Zerto perspective, it's important that we need to have a virtualized environment. So what we do is we essentially protect your workloads from a virtualized environment. It could be a VMware house, it could be your Hyper-V house, or it could be any hyperscaler. It could be AWS, could be Azure, could be GCP cloud, could be your IBM cloud. So currently Zerto supports the hypervisors, which is VMware and Hyper-V, and we support almost all the hyperscalers in the world. And also proud to say that by end of this year or beginning of next fiscal year, we will also support the AHV Nutanix as well as the KVM OpenStack. I'm sure most of you, 90% of customers who are listening in this call today, you are impacted with the Broadcom acquisition of VMware and the licensing policies. And trust me, most of the customers are looking at alternate hypervisor options because they are not happy to continue with VMware. They are looking at different hypervisor options. And trust me, we as a HP company, we as a product from Zerto, we will be supporting a multi-hypervisor support down the line in the roadmap. So let me talk about quickly on the disaster recovery strategy. This is my first use case here. So disaster recovery strategy, as I said, it's important to kind of keep your data repository safe in a DR side. And now if you see this architecture here, I'm not going to kind of speak very technically here because I believe a lot of people are in the call or from a sales side. So just to give you a high level picture of how the data replication can be done in a very simple way is that any impact in the production will be impacted in the target side. Any failover happens, any impact in the production will happen the failover in the target side. Now, what happens is we have to replicate data from your DC center, which is your production side, to a DR side, which is your DR side. So what happens is we can replicate data from a production side to DR side, and we can have multiple DRs. With Zerto, one of the huge advantage a customer gets is you can have a data center, let's say in Delhi, and you can have your target site, let's say in Chennai, Hyderabad, and Mumbai, and you can replicate the data from one data center to multiple DR site at one instance. And obviously, from a licensing perspective, all we just need is one licensing, one platform to do this. Now, coming from a technical standpoint, we don't just replicate data as it is to a DR site because of bandwidth latency. A lot of customers do say that, if you're replicating humongous amount of data from a data center to a DR, one of the important aspect is data latency. So with Zerto as a platform and technology, what we essentially do is the platform has got intelligence in terms of compressing the data until 70 to 80% of data, which is humongous. So what we do is we compress the data and then we kind of replicate data to the DR side. So that the value proposition the customer gets is they have a minimal bandwidth consumption between the DR and the DC side, and we can effectively get the RPOs within few seconds. I mean, we have seen customers, we have seen banks, largest conglomerates, largest customers in India replicating humongous amount of virtualized machines into from DC to DR within 7 seconds or 8 seconds RPO and RTOs in few minutes. I think that is a very, very huge value add a customer gets in terms of replication and also the compression part. As I said, from a storage perspective, from a hardware perspective, we are a hardware agnostic platform, so we can have any underlying hardware the customer, you as a customer have, and we can deploy the solution as well. Next important slide I'm going to talk about is the journal capability. This is again a very powerful functionality inside Zerto, and the software actually has an intelligence to kind of logs and insert as checkpoints every few seconds. And as a journal, what we do is we store data from 1 hour to maximum of 30 days, and an external journal up to 1 year. So this journal is very powerful because we can store data humongously. And for the customer, what is the important value add is, let's say if a disaster or ransomware hits the customer premises at exactly 10 o'clock. So what this journal does is it has got intelligence to kind of roll back or rewind back to exactly 5 seconds checkpoint before, which is 9:59:55 seconds. So you can rewind back within seconds to the previous checkpoint and start recovering the entire data. I think that is the huge value proposition a customer gets, because a disaster can happen. You can have your unplanned disruptions can happen. You can have a power outage. You can have your hardware disasters. You can have a fire accident or a flood or even ransomware attacks. The attacks can happen, but what is the important part is how do you minimize your data loss and downtime? That is very important aspect here. That is where Zerto plays a very critical role as a platform, and we can recover the data within 5 seconds checkpoint. Obviously, backup is not disaster recovery. I just want to differentiate us from a backup vendors that why backup is not disaster recovery. Obviously, if you see from the backup start and backup end, you have a lot of applications in between your app server, DB server, or a web server. And if you see the timelines between this recovery, the backup tools typically take snapshots. I'm sure a lot of you understand the snapshot technology. They take snapshots, and taking the snapshots, what is the disadvantage here is that there's a data loss and downtime is on the higher side, and there is a very inconsistent recovery of time when it comes to backup. Now with Zerto, what is the differentiator we bring on the table is that we group all these applications into one single entity or one single group. If you could see in this slide, I have beautifully, it's been nicely, creatively articulated that you bring in app server, web and DB and file server into one single group. And we protect all these applications through something called as this dotted lines, which stands for VPGs, which is called as virtual protection groups. So through virtual protection groups, you can create as many applications you want and you can protect that. And if you see the consistency of recovery, it's exactly 5 seconds of checkpoint, which I explained in the journal before. And there is a write order fidelity, and the validation happens to all the VMs across all the applications into one single group. Now, again, the important part is the DR orchestration and DR drills. I mean, as a customer, from a DR strategy, every customer wants to have a DR drills. It's a part of the mandate from government policies from an SLA perspective. So when the customer wants to do a DR drills or a DR failover or a DR replication, what happens is we use this dashboard, what you're seeing right now, the GUI of Zerto. And this is a dashboard where critically customers will see the number of protected, your virtual protection groups, number of protected VMs, you have the protected data, the compression ratio, which I talked about in the last slide. And then you can see the dashboard itself will show you the average RPOs, which is 10 seconds here, which is just an example. But in the real-time scenario, when you replicate data from a data center to DR, you will be able to see the average RPOs inside this dashboard. And this dashboard can also give you the holistic view about your VPG health, your VPG status. Lovelace did talk about the government policies and SLAs. So you can define this SLAs into this dashboard, meeting those SLAs, you can define those as part of this dashboard as well. And then we have something called a site topology. So this is a very powerful kind of visualization for the customer. So if you're replicating data from a DC to DR or a reverse replication from DR to DC, you can see this arrow marks, which clearly indicates where my data is getting replicated. And obviously, I will be also talking in a short while about the ransomware alert detection and the recovery part. So on the right hand side of the dashboard, we can see alerts where I can see what kind of a ransomware alert, what my CPU search, any kind of a fluctuation or any kind of a ransomware or malware attack happens in the premises, I might get alerts in this dashboard, and this is visibly or visually can be shown here. And this dashboard is very widely used by our customers. It has got analytics, we have got inbuilt reporting. Just click and fly off a button, you can get a lot of generated physical reports which can be sent to your end administrators, and these reports are used for the compliance and standard purposes as well. So I talked about the DR drills, right? I mean, how easy to do a DR drill. So if you see this, I'm just clicking on the failover. When I click on the failover, all I can do is choose an application that I want to protect. And then I talked about the journal, where I will have sequence of checkpoints, which I can kind of choose which checkpoint or the which is a clean checkpoint I can kind of go for, and then start the failover. That simple it is. So the failover process happens in a very few minutes or few seconds, and then customers can actually test the failover from a DC to DR. And as I said, it's not just one-sided replication, but the system or the platform allows you to have a reverse replication as well. So coming from the ransomware resilience and cyber recovery, this is the second aspect or the use case number 2 I spoke about. And cyber is the security team's issue. That was before. As I said, this has become a board level challenge. It is not, CISO's problem anymore. The CIOs, the CFOs, or the CTOs are very much concerned about the cyber security. And due to some of the various reasons or customer challenges or top challenges we hear from customers are, one is the ransomware attacks, right? I mean, the evolving threats. If you see here, last year, 87% of disaster responses were triggered by ransomware itself, which is very high. And what the data fact says is it has gone to 94% in 2024, which means every customer is attacked by ransomware, which is a very, very red alarming threat globally. Now, what happens is even after you pay a ransom amount to the hackers, only 4% of data is kind of recovered, which is again a very, very, a concerning fact for the customer. And the last challenge is that the attack can happen in few seconds, or the ransomware attack can happen in few minutes, but the time it takes to recovery is almost a month. Imagine a largest bank, if it goes for a ransomware attack or a malware attacks, it takes a humongous amount of money first. The kind of investments that you do, it takes almost a month to recover data. So huge amount of investments goes into the recovery part. No, I think Lovelace did nicely talk about the different kinds of attacks, but from a technology perspective, I just want to give a glimpse of what is an anatomy of an attack, how the attackers or the hackers get into system access today. So the attack can happen in different ways. One is the phishing attack, one is the ransomware or a malware, or you can have different types of attacks. And if you see the hacker's image here, what they do is they smartly get into an initial accessing your server, and then they slowly get in command and control. What this means is they don't stay at a place. They will try to kind of move around the server and move around your different platforms, and then they do a lateral movement. Ultimately, their goal is to kind of disable your security and backup agents, and they will start encrypting data. And this is where, and the time it takes for the entire process to happen is between 5 to 9 days, which is very quick, right? But during the encryption of data, this is where the hackers will call the customers top management, and then they will start negotiating the ransom amount to recover the data or to give the data back to the customers. And this is where Zerto as a platform plays a real great role here, because between the encryption and recovery, Zerto can actually give a customer a very important proposition. And how do we do that? So from an architecture perspective, I'm not changing any architecture from disaster recovery. If you see the architecture, it remains as it is. So you have still the DC, you have still the DR, and the replication can happen from a DC to DR. Now, what's very important is that the software has got built-in intelligence, which will do the anomaly-based encryption detection. What this anomaly is, the anomalies are nothing but suspicious. Could be a phishing attack, could be a ransomware or a malware that I talked about. So what happens is in the live scenario from a customer standpoint, the system will do various indicators of compromise 24/7. So software has got a beautiful intelligence to kind of scan the various indicators of compromise in a real-time way. And what happens is, if any suspicious or writes into the streamings into the customer premises, an alarm is triggered immediately. When I say alarm, this could be a simple mail that goes to the administrator of the company's security person, or you can set a workflow in such a way, if somebody is unnoticing that workflow, it might go to the top manager to immediately address that something has happened and some kind of encryption happened. So this is one. Obviously, I spoke about journal in my last slide. So from a recovery standpoint, we can go to the previous checkpoint and start recovering the entire data. So this is where the detection of ransomware can be done, and the protection of and the recovery part can be can be done in 5 seconds. That is where the power of Zerto. And we have seen customers. I mean, lot of conglomerates, lot of public sector clients, lot of large banks are using Zerto very effectively. And I'm very proud to say, and very happy to kind of talk to you people in the call, that a lot of customers see a lot of value on this ransomware part, especially from the recovery standpoint. Now, the great thing, and some of our customers do ask us, hey, Suman, this is all great. This is fantastic. The platform is super. But what happens even Zerto is compromised? Why not? So that could be a scenario, worst case scenario. Even our software can be compromised. And what should be the steps for that kind of a worst case scenario? And this is where I say, between the lateral movement and between the disabling your security and backup agents, the worst case option is even our software can get compromised. And this is where we bring a powerful technology or powerful methodology called a cyber resilient vault. I am sure as a customer in the call today, you will appreciate the fact that the vault is not a jargon. It has been a known fact to a lot of the customers, especially the banks and large institutions have been adopting the concept of vault. And what is this vault is all about? The vault is nothing but it's isolated, air gapped, immutable, and zero trust. What this means, when I say isolated, what I'm smartly doing is I'm disconnecting the data completely from the offline online system. So the entire data becomes offline. When I say air gapped, this is nothing but a clean room where the hackers cannot see that clean room. And immutable means is, in a simple words or simple terminology, once the data is written, it cannot be changed, it cannot be deleted, even if the administrator has the rights to do so. And it is all based on zero trust architecture. What this means is, we assume that every component of this vault, including Zerto, if it is compromised, the worst case scenario, the data can be still recovered and the customers can still recover the entire data. That is the beautiful proposition of this. Now, from an architecture perspective, again, I'm not going in depth and in a technical way, but what I wanted to really give you the perspective here is that the vault is a combination of HP hardware and Zerto software. So it comes as an appliance box. So what customers typically do is they will have a landing zone and they will have to create something called as the vault zone. That is what it means, a cyber resilient vault. And if you see, I spoke about the air gapping. So if you see in the landing zone, I have got something called as HP Electra. That is nothing but it's a storage product that comes from HP. So we put an Electra at the landing zone, we put the Electra at the vault zone, and we will start doing the fully air gap system between these two Electras. So this is where the clean room is created. The hackers will not have access to this clean room. And obviously, we need some computing space through the HP ProLand, and then we need to have some Aruba networking switches along with Zerto software. So this entire combination of HP hardware and Zerto software as an appliance box put together, what makes a cyber resilient vault. And trust me, and we have a lot of proof points from our existing customers that this vault gives them 100% data protection from the ransomware attacks or from from the cyber resiliency perspective. And this vault is positioned in Bangalore right now. We have physically done in our innovation center in Bangalore. So if any of you as a customer, if you're interested to see this vault in person, please reach out to me or to the Orbit team. We will be more than happy to facilitate and take you to Bangalore Innovation Center and show you how this vault really works in a physical way. Now, coming from the proof points, just from an ROI perspective, I mean, although there are a lot of vaults in the market exist, why we are superior, how we are superior than other vaults. If you see some facts and the proof points here, the data loss and downtime, the best case scenario of the other vaults is 2 days. The worst case scenario with Zerto is 4 hours or less, which is 87% of reduction we are able to get through Zerto. The time to restore, if I take a real-time example of 300 virtual machines with 300 terabytes of data, the time it takes for Zerto is just 2 hours. The other backup vaults, it takes 22 days. So we are actually getting a substantial reduction of 99% of time to restore here. And total ransomware impact, we could bring it down by 99%. And we are the only software in the world who are based on journal-based recovery. I spoke about journal in my last few slides. So through journal, we are able to kind of recover the entire data within few seconds checkpoint. And obviously, the vault can be packaged into different sizes. We can sell vault as an small, medium, and large. Depending on the customer's configuration, they can set up the vault in this different configuration and t-shirt sizes. The last use case.
Suman, Lavlesh
Yes.
at the side, just a time check. You should try to conclude in 5 minutes so that
Yes,
we can have
Lavlesh.
question answer.
This is my last slide, Lavlesh, and I'm concluding this. Yes. Thank you so much for that. So from a multi-cloud perspective, I think I touched upon this slide in the beginning itself, but in the interest of time, As a multi-cloud perspective from Zerto, as I said in the beginning itself, we can do data migration. We can support customers in setting up their DR strategy in terms of moving from on-prem to cloud, cloud back to on-prem. As I said, if a customer wants to move to a private cloud, to any hyperscaler, Zerto can very well support that, because if you see all these cloud vendors today we support, and we have a lot of customer use cases where they have done the DR strategy between the clouds, or they wanted to migrate from an on-prem to cloud or cloud back to on-prem. So with that good note, I think we are happy to take some questions on Zerto as well as from the overall cyber resiliency perspective. Neha, over to you.
Thank you, Suman. Thank you for this wonderful session. So we have few questions in the chat window. So few are there in the Q&A as well.
Okay.
So yeah.
Can you just read if
Yeah, so we have a question. Any luck on 0 days as well, along with zero trust?
Okay. So if I understand the question properly, right, zero trust, I just spoke about the zero trust in the cyber resilient vault, right? I mean, zero trust obviously the product has, and as I said, we assume that every component of the product, if it's compromised, and the worst case scenario, we can still recover that. 0 days is not there, unfortunately. That is not something that we can do from Zerto perspective.
So, but I just like to add here that if you have a functionality of Vault, if even 0 day is there, you don't need to worry because the data is
Correct.
already there, correct?
Yes. Yes, that's correct.
Thank you.
Next question, Neha.
So the next question is, what is the USP compared to Veeam or SRM? Does it
Okay.
support non-virtualized environment?
Okay, that's a very fantastic question. So let me take one by one. So yeah, I mean, SRM and Veeam are, first of all, I would say, with great respect, they are good tools in the market. I know, with due respect, but when we compare apple to apple comparison with Veeam, I mean, Veeam claims that they are for the backup purpose. But as I said, we are a disaster recovery software. For us, the RPOs and RTOs of few seconds, 5 seconds, something Veeam or SRM can't do. We are a hardware agnostic platform. We can work with any hardware, and we do a multi-hypervisor support, which I don't think SRM or Veeam has it, because with Zerto currently we can support VMware, Hyper-V, and all the hyperscalers. But with SRM, that's not possible. SRM can't actually get an RPO of few seconds like what Zerto does, and SRM doesn't have the ransomware protection as Zerto can provide for. So these are the high-level challenges. Of course, we have a detailed competitive landscape. Post this meeting, we'll be more than happy to supply those documents, which is publicly available.
So in
And coming
extension
from
to this,
non-virtualized environment, obviously, I mean, I'm sure they're talking about containers, bare metals, and physical workloads. Unfortunately, we don't support those. It's only virtualized environment supported by Zerto.
also does it support encryption while replicating to far side?
Encryption to.
While
Can I?
replicating to far side.
Yes, absolutely yes. So for us, it doesn't matter, right? I mean, the data latency, as I said, the distance between the DC and DR for us doesn't matter. It can be few kilometers, few thousand kilometers. So we completely support that.
No, so question was but that whether it is natively encrypted while it is in transport, and answer is yes, it is encrypted.
That is encrypted. Yes.
Thank you. So we have next question, which is how one should start protecting the data internally that is processed via application. How can we make
Uh,
sure the data is not taken out of laptop or copy is not made?
Oh, I'll take this question.
Yeah.
So,
Sure.
first of all, when you talk about application security is taken at the care at the server level. And if you are absolutely not talking about endpoint protection, which is uh, getting data out of the laptop, is there security tools come in picture, and DLP is the most prominent solution which is used. So it cannot be done through any data center the security tool or product. It has to be at endpoint, and endpoint security is mostly data security is mostly taken care by DLPs. Next question, Neha.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lavlesh. So the next question is Zerto only supports hypervisor. What about replication target when data encrypts?
Question is not.
I repeat,
Yeah. Question is not.
Zerto.
Yeah.
The question is Zerto only supports hypervisor.
That
What
is
about
correct.
replication? Yeah. What about replication target when data
No.
is encrypted?
Okay. The question is not properly constructed, I would say, because see, when you say, of course, this is a replication tool, right? You are replicating data from DC to DR, and in terms of hypervisor support, yes, it is only virtualized environment, and it supports only hypervisor currently, and that is the answer, So
Sure. How HP Elytra communicates from landing zone to vault, keeping in mind that these are isolated and air gapped.
yes. So Alletra MP has got a functionality called as virtual lock. Virtual lock is nothing but that is meant for the immutable data copies. So when you say the communication part, obviously we put in a landing zone and the vault zone. So between that we make an air gap system. That is air gap is nothing but the communication happens between the two Alletras. Next question, Aneha.
Thank you. How does Zerto handle data encryption during replication and failover to ensure
Okay.
data security? And what strategies would you implement to achieve a sub 5-second RPO in a high transaction environment?
Fantastic question, first of all. So we use technology called as entropy mechanism. Entropy is the mechanism or the background of what this entire process of technology's background is, planned for. So when data is replicating from a DC to DR, any CPU search, any kind of ransomware, malware attack, or any kind of encryption happens from a data perspective. That is where this anomaly-based encryption happens, and Zerto can trigger a mail and can recover data. So that is the powerful mechanism how we do that. So it's based on the entropy mechanism. That is how the design for. Now, it comes to data latency. Obviously, we have seen customers who are using even 100 Mbps data. They are able to replicate data at a faster pace. So it all depends on the bandwidth. The customer's bandwidth. If a customer has a better bandwidth, the replication of data can be superior. And the reason why we claim RPO of 5 seconds because we compress the data when we move the data from DC to DR, and we kind of decrypt the data or decompress it and then move to DR. And that is the reason why we claim the RPO of 5 seconds.
So the second part to this question is it maintains the compliance with security standards like GDPR
Yes.
or CCPA?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, because we have seen a lot of European banks because this product is not just used in India, it's been used globally. And if you take the European banks, they comply the GDPR standards. In fact, DORA is the cybersecurity framework used by European standards, and we comply with that.
Sure, thank you. So next question is, will it also do vulnerability assessment?
Vulnerability assessment. Reporting can be triggered. I'm exactly not sure how it is done, but what I at least know from my experience is that there are some standard reports for the vulnerability assessments. We can generate those reports, but from an assessment point of view, as the technology point of view, I don't think so. We do that effectively.
And vulnerability assessment is something should be done through a very, very, you can say, industry leading VAPT
Correct.
tool. That only is the most recommended thing to be done because VAPT is expertise of, you can say, or it's a different domain and say, safeguarding the data is a different domain.
Absolutely.
So what is the minimum bandwidth required?
So 5 Mbps is what we normally recommend customers, but we have seen customers using minimum of 100 Mbps because that is mostly even if the oldest technology of customers we have seen 100 Mbps is the minimum bandwidth. But for recommendation for Zeto is 5 Mbps only.
And it also depends upon the size of data. It is not
Yeah,
that we say 5 Mbps and it is done. It is minimum what he's talking about. And obviously, it will depend upon how much data you want to transport and accordingly pipe is required.
absolutely.
Thank you, Lavlesh. Thank you, Suman. So this is a question or a statement. So it says, as Zerto is a reactive approach to recover data post
Mhm.
ransomware encryption, while Veritas is not allowing to encrypt data, there is no need to recover or allow encryption.
No, bit of confusing question there.
No,
Can
no.
you just
So,
repeat?
no, no. So I'll tell you what. This question is something probably whoever has asked is maybe he has his own thought. He or she has his own thought process. But what we like to say, Neha here is that as we talked about, me and Sumanji both talked about that it is just not only one way of ransomware attack which you face. It can be anything. Okay.
Correct.
So even if it is not, you can say encrypted, if it is stolen, or probably if the entire systems are locked, means to say data inside is very, very safe, but the system is locked, then also you can face challenge. But yes, we will love to have a one-to-one discussion with this person, whoever has asked, to understand his requirement more, and we will be very happy to answer it because in interest of time, we will have to now, Neha, stop the question answers, and you have your quiz you can run, and then we can end the show.
So we will just take last question, Lavlesh.
Mhm.
So it says sometimes ransomware agent keeps silent for months before it get activated. How it is ensured data which is backed up is ransomware free?
See, first of all, as I said, we don't take snapshots like backup tools does today, right? We are using journal. The journal is a powerful mechanism where we can store data from 1 to 30 days maximum. And if the customer sets the journal for 1 hour or 1 day, post that, the data gets flushed out. So for Zerto, that recovery or repository of data is not at all there. So journal, that is where we are very powerful in terms of data recovery point. So that is where keeps ourselves differentiated between the backup tools. I think we don't take snapshots. The straight answer is we don't take snapshots here.
Thank you. So good to know a lot of interesting questions. Thank you all for asking all these questions, and we'll get in touch with you after this webinar. So now we come to the most exciting part of this webinar. We'll just take a quick quiz. So we are joined by Uttara Gandhi. She's the head marketing Orbit Techsol West. Over to you, Uttara, to lead this fun activity.
Thank you, Neha. And I'm sure that it was a very insightful session for everybody. But I think the question and answers will let us know who has grasped most of the knowledge. So I hope everyone is ready. And I'll just flash my screen so that you can see the question and we can begin with the quiz. So what we are going to do is that we will be having the chats open, right, for everyone. So it's the fastest finger first, and whoever types the answer first will be considered as the winner for that question. We'll just be having 3 questions due to short time. So let's go. So your first question is, what is the primary purpose of Zerto? Is it data storage, or is it data replication and disaster recovery, or cloud computing services, or network security? I think very easy. So any
Yeah, we
answers
have
in
a
the
lot of
chat?
answers.
So I think Mr. Neeraj has answered the first. And absolutely right. It is data replication and disaster recovery. So the next question is, which technology does Zerto use for its replication process? Snapshot-based replication, continuous data protection, tape-based backup, or RAID technology? I think from the slides, this answer was very clear, very well mentioned. So
So we'll
I
declare the winners,
think
Uttara. We'll have to go through this because it's a long list. I think the answers are just coming in. So
definitely.
yeah.
Sure. So, and the last question I think for today is that Zerto is typically used for which of the environments? Whether on-prem, cloud, both, or for personal computing? I think we have a lot of answers, and C is absolutely correct. So shortly we'll revealing who is the winner over a mail. But thank you everybody for participating and for joining us on time. And I hope you have all enjoyed this session. Thank you to both the speakers for keeping it so interactive, and Neha, obviously, very good job with entire show. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for
Wishing you all
joining
good
Thanks,
in.
weekend.
everyone, and have a very happy weekend. Bye.